Hey guys, King of Trimanders here, and today I bring you a video on the best Rajang weapon builds. All weapon types for Season 3. So this video covers the best builds for the Rajang weapons. And Rajang weapons are interesting because they carry minus 30% affinity or negative 30% affinity. This means you have a 30% chance of doing 25% less damage. Again, 25% less damage. If it's negative, you do less damage. If it's positive, you do more. You get it? And each Rajang weapon type also has their own unique equipment skills, so each one is different, and we're going to cover all of them in this video. Alright, here are those equipment skills I mentioned, starting off with the melee weapons, and here we have part 1. So all the Rajang weapons equipment skills will unlock at grade 8. First, you have the sword and shield with Slugger level 2, which increases stun power by 15%. You have the Greatsword, which does Resentment level 2. When taking damage, attack power is increased by 15% for 15 seconds. For the Hammer, you have Part Breaker level 1, which increases part damage accumulated on breakable parts by 5%. In addition, you have the Longsword with Focus level 1, which shortens charging time of charge attacks by 5% and increases the fill rate of the Longsword and Charge Blade gauge by 5%. Moving on, we have part 2 of the equipment skills, starting with the Dual Blades with Power Prolonger level 2. This decreases the rate of the Spirit gauge of longswords minus 10%. The duration of Demon Mode of Dual Blades increases plus 40%. The duration of the Red Shield of Charge Blade will also increase by 20%. You also have the Lance with Burst level 2. Lining consecutive hits in a short span of time increases attack power by 10% for 4 seconds. The Charge Blade with Quick Work level 1, become ever so slightly faster at sheathing or transforming your weapon, and something I forgot from before, the Gun Lance with Defensive Loading level 1. This reloads file/ammo of Charge Blade /Gun Lance /Heavy Bowgun by 1 after guarding against a monster's attack. But we can't forget about the Rajang ranged weapon equipment skills, starting off with a bow with Rising Tide level 2. This slightly increases attack power and defense as the hunt timer runs out. The Heavy Bowgun with Offensive Guard level 2, which increases attack power by 15% for 10 seconds after executing a well-timed guard. And the Light Bowgun with Artillery level 1, which increases damage of Gun Lance's ammo /Wyvern fire attacks, and Charge Blade's file attacks and sticky ammo by 10%. Up next, we're going to compare the Rajang weapon types versus all the other Thunder monster types in the game. We're talking about the current ones, again, the current Thunder Elemental monsters in the game, and here's the comparison for all of them. Yes, I have Khezu in there. Thank you for whoever told me about it. As much as I hate the dang thing, I did forget about it, so I appreciate it. Thank you for correcting me, and now we have it here. But as you see here, the Rajang weapons are the strongest, but they barely beat Zinogre, literally by 0.96%. Literally like close to 1%, that's it. So if you already have Zinogre weapons built, don't worry about this. You probably don't need to build Rajang weapons unless you really want them. In addition, Khezu, Sisiaku, and Tobi-Kadachi are only worth building if you're looking for budget options. But if you're watching this video, you're probably looking at to build the Rajang weapons now, the future, or you're looking to transition to it after building one of these later on for one of your budget options. Moving on to the melee builds, you have multiple options for them, so we're going to compare the damage between all of them. Here are the best Rajang melee builds comparison, and we're going to compare the top Rajang melee builds, and you have a lot of variety here. But as you see here, per the data, the difference between the top damage build and the lowest is only about 7%, which is 6.7% to be exact. And along with that, there are unique requirements of some of these builds, so it's really up to you which one you want to use. In order to make these numbers go, you need to be able to meet all their conditions and then make them last and be an expert at all of them. So again, this data is very wonky as far as which one's better than the other. Whichever one works for you between these ones is the one you should go after and the one you should use. Because again, there's a lot of differences and nuances between these builds. Moving on, here we present the melee builds. The best Rajang melee builds, number 1, Sneak Attack level 2. So the first one uses the Nightshade Palumu Coil at grade 8 to give Sneak Attack level 2. Again, that's grade 8, so this one's pretty expensive. So if you're going after them Nightshade Palumu Coils, this is something you might consider. And it does the highest damage out of all the practical theoretical damage builds. However, you must be behind the monster to ensure that you are maxing out DPS. Now that Nightshade Palumu is out, it's possible to have Sneak Attack at this high. However, again, you need to be behind the monster. So if you're not behind it, you're not going to get this result. To use this build, you need a Rajang weapon at grade 8, grade 10, or as high as you can get it for melee, the Puke helmet at grade 8, the Kazumail at grade 6, the Zinogre Vambraces at grade 6, the Nightshade Palumu Coil at grade 8, and the Zinogre Greaves at grade 6. Next up at number 2, we have the Offensive Guard for the best Rajang melee builds, and this build uses Bareth Mail at grade 6 to give Offensive Guard level 2. This does the second highest damage out of all the practical theoretical damage builds, but it only works with weapons that have the ability to guard. And the thing is, perfect guarding will negate damage, however you still need to wait for the monster to attack you to activate it. This is where you'll lose DPS, so even though you have Offensive Guard, if you don't want to take damage again, you have to perfect guard. And yeah, it kinda sucks. But if you're an expert at it already, you're used to it, and you want to go through this mechanic, here's the option. To use this build, you need the Rajang weapon at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Puke helmet at grade 8, the Bareth Mail at grade 6, the Zinogre Vambraces at grade 6, the Tobikadachi Coil at grade 6, and the Zinogre Greaves at grade 6. On to number 3 for the best Rajang melee builds, and we have Bubbly Dance / Resuscitate level 3. This build uses the Bubbly Dance / Resuscitate level 3 mechanic from the Mizutsune armor, and this does the third highest damage out of all the Rajang melee builds. However, this requires you to activate and maintain Bubble Blight to keep the Resuscitate damage bonus going. So if you're not used to it, you're gonna have to get used to it, and if you don't like it, it's gonna be a hard time for you, but you can use one of the other builds. If you do like it, then if you want to use it, you need the Rajang weapon at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Sisiyaku helmet at grade 6, the Mizutsune Mail at grade 6, the Mizutsune Vambraces at grade 6, the Tobikadachi Coil at grade 6, and the Mizutsune Greaves at grade 6. Moving on at number 4 for the best Rajang melee builds, you have Latent Power level 2. This build uses the Deviljho Mail at grade 6 for Latent Power level 2, and has the second to lowest practical theoretical damage out of the rest of the builds. This build must have Latent Power to activate in order to have an accurate result, otherwise it's not worth it. That's 48 seconds into the battle and quickens by 1 second for every 100 motion values. So again, if it doesn't go off, you're not going to have an accurate result. But if you've used Latent Power before, you'll like it, and you want to use it, you need the Rajang weapon at grade 8 or grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Puke helmet at grade 8, the Deviljho Mail at grade 6, Zinogre Vambraces at grade 6, Tobikadachi Coil at grade 6, and the Zinogre Greaves at grade 6. And last but not least, for the best Rajang melee builds, at number 5, you have Burst level 3. So this build uses Burst level 3 to increase your attack power thanks to the Rathian Vambraces at grade 6. This has the lowest practical theoretical damage out of the rest of the builds. However, this is the only build that doesn't require any conditions or any positioning requirements. So there's no fanciest, things you need to activate or offensive guard, etc. This, you could do whatever you want with it, and it will do well. To use this build, the standard build, you need the Rajang weapon at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Puke helmet at grade 8, the Kazumail at grade 6, the Rathian Vambraces at grade 6, Tobikadachi Coil at grade 6, and the Zinogre Greaves at grade 6. And now that we're done with melee, we moved on to range, starting with the bow, and this is the best Rajang bow build with Thunder Attack level 5. As this build uses Focus level 5 to maximize charging time to charge level 4 to do damage level 4. And this build also maxes out Thunder Attack to level 5 and has a practical theoretical damage of 4,350. This is the highest combination put together. Thanks to Rajang Coil, you can now get this combination with Thunder Attack level 5. And along with that, for the Rajang bow, Pierce is the strongest shot type of the bow, and it also gets Rising Tide level 2. So as the time goes on and the hunt timer runs out, you will gain more power. To use this build, you need the Rajang bow at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Azarathlos helmet at grade 6, the Kazumail at grade 6, Zinogre Vambraces at grade 6, the Rajang Coil at grade 8, and the Zinogre Greaves at grade 6. On to the next ranged weapon, and we have the best Rajang light bowgun build with Thunder Attack level 4. And this build uses reload speed and recoil down at level 3 to max out DPS, with a practical theoretical damage of 3,374. The thing is, artillery isn't the best skill to have for the light bowgun, as it only applies to the sticky ammo. So that's the Rajang weapon skill you get for the Rajang light bowgun, unfortunately. But most of the time you will be staying in spread ammo range close up, so this possibly exposes you to the monster's melee attack set if you're looking for another whammy for using this weapon. If you have the Zinogre light bowgun, like me, you're great, you're probably not going after this. But if you want to shotgun and spread, you need the Rajang light bowgun at grade 8 or at grade 10 or as high as you can get it, the Sisiaku helmet at grade 6, Halloumi mail at grade 6, Zinogre van braces at grade 6, the Coral Puke coil at grade 6, and the Azaratlos Greaves at grade 6. And last but not least, for the last weapon type, we have the best Rajang heavy bowgun build, offensive guard level 5. And this build maxed out offensive guard to level 5, as the Rajang heavy bowgun has offensive guard level 2. So we're just adding onto it to maxed out. And unfortunately, for this heavy bowgun, you need recoil down and reload speed level 3 to make a big difference, because when you are trying to pump out DPS with Rajang's heavy bowgun's ammo types, it's sticky and cluster. Having tested it out, it's really clunky. So you need these at 3 because you get average and slow. It's going to be very dangerous for you unless you're very used to using these two ammo types. And it's very unique having them put together. Now the thing about offensive guard, in order for you not to take damage, you need a perfect guard to take no damage trying to activate offensive guard. And this takes a lot of practice and might not work for you. We've always known ranged weapons to be able to avoid attacks and avoid ranges. However, heavy bowgun isn't that. It's clunky, it's slow, you're probably going to try to guard everything, or it's the best way to do it. So, if you're going to do that, you need the Rajang heavy bowgun at grade 8, or grade 10, or as high as you can get it. The Barrett helmet at grade 4, the Barrett mail at grade 6, the Bazarios van braces at grade 6, the Coral Puke coil at grade 6, and the Azaratlos Greaves at grade 6.
Wow, Vegeta, this might take longer than I thought. You see? This is our fate, our battle!
Ah yes, the fate and the battle of you and many Rajang if you are trying to grade 10.5 or max out your Rajang weapon so that you can use one of these Rajang builds. And hopefully this video helped you decide what Rajang build you want to use. Sadly, the Gun Lance has wide shelling and the Charge Blade has impact files. So take this into account, as they might not be the most effective Rajang weapons to build around for you. It really depends on what you want to do. The Charge Blade does have quick work, so that's a bonus. But again, it's up to you which one you want to build and use. Please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Good luck on all your Rarity 6 Rajang drops, and I'm hoping you get all of them sooner than later, especially if you're trying to 10-5 this thing, because 27 is still a lot. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.